Man, when I was at KU, if I heard about it, would be at K-State talking to business classes. That was crazy. Thank you for being here. What I'm going to do today, it's a special day for me because I get an opportunity to share with you something that I wish I knew when I was your age, when I was sitting in the chairs that you guys have sitting in. Through the last 30 years of representing NFL guys, I've been stealing from every one of those guys because some of those guys are really, really talented in their mental approach to their game. And every time I represent a new guy, I'm finding out what's his secret. What is the thing that makes him special? What is the thing that allows him to overcome the adversities that all these guys face? And so through those years, I've gotten really smart. And I've put together a pro mindset model that I call it, for people that are just how do you unlock your pro? Everybody's a pro. Everybody's got their pro. Everybody's special. God made you guys perfectly and special. Everyone. Now the world's going to spend. You're going to spend your life living this life where the world's going to tell you you're not special, and that you're inadequate and you're not enough. You should have did something else. But I'm here to tell you that you are special and you can be special. This is a model and a system that can help you be your best in your biggest moments. There's this when you're in the NFL. Here's the unique thing about the NFL: you only get to go through the draft once. You only get to go through the combine once. Do you know how many guys I've talked to that ran a 4.4 every day except for the day they went to Indianapolis and ran the combine when they ran a 4.6? But they're a 4.4 guy. Okay. Well, if you run a 4.6 in Indianapolis, guess what? You're a 4.6 guy. And so it's really about being your best when it counts the most. And when you look at Patrick Mahomes, or you've got Taylor Swift showing up in Arrowhead this last week. Travis, if you want to see a story, go check out Travis Kelce and what that man has gone through. He was suspended from college. Okay, everybody sees him now as he's on top of the world. But Travis Kelce's got something to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become. And he wouldn't have overcome. So, okay. So I'm going to get started here. See what story. I should make that one. It's all good. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a real quick bio. I haven't represented 100 guys. I've represented 300. I've had over 100 guys draft. Okay. And when guys go through the draft, they usually typically have one of two mindsets. One is I made it. It's kind of like when you guys graduated from high school, you had certain kids in your class that thought they'd cross the finish line. And there's other people who are like, we're just getting started. We're going to go out to college and grad school and move on. And so a lot of guys in the NFL think that they're draft against graduation and that they made it. And the reality of it is, NFL coaches don't care where you're drafted and how high you're drafted. They care about what you bring into the table and show up in the locker room and the field of that particular team. So my experience in the NFL has been 100 guys drafted, negotiated over $1 billion worth of contracts, have had numerous guys go to the Pro Bowl, lots of starters at lots of different positions. And it's one of those things where when you do something long enough, you start noticing that certain people do things differently. And what I had was I had two boys that love football. And we kept them from playing football until they were like fifth grade. And I started sharing with them the things that I was learning from playing. And not just my kids, all my kids. And it started making a difference. And then I coached high school football for 4 years. We won state 3 times. They never won state before. Wasn't because of me, but I coached the coaches. Because the coaches didn't have any good, they didn't have good culture. And so what did I do? I took the information of Pro Mindset and passed it on to our students. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. The guy on the far left just negotiated a deal for him 2 weeks ago. He's the highest paid long snapper in the league. Long snappers are important. Nobody knows who they are until they dribble the ball back to the punter, to the holder on PATs or field goals. But my experience in the NFL is that the NFL doesn't know. I know it's going to sound crazy, but they don't. Has anybody heard of Zach Wilson? Okay. Zach Wilson, I think, was the number 2 pick 3 years ago. And now nobody in New York wants him. And when Aaron Rodgers unfortunately went down in game 1, fourth play, everybody was, despondent over the fact that now we're going to go back to Zach. But at one point in time, Zach was at the top of the round. He was a first round. He wasn't a first round, he was a top 5 pick. So the question is, what's flawed? Was it Zach? Or was it the Jets? Because they're the ones that picked him. And one of the things that you find in this process of the NFL is that, when you go through that pre-draft process, the media has a narrative about certain players. The teams start buying into the players being who they think they are, and sometimes they are who they think they are. A lot of times they're not who they think they are. Because here's the thing about the difference between college and pro. In college, the teams do everything for you. Not everything, but you got a schedule. And you're told where to be and when to be. And there may be, was any football players in here? Couple? Okay. So you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a grind. The average student doesn't really understand how much time commitment these guys have. And when it's a beautiful day in the spring, and you got people hanging out on campus having some fun, these guys are busy. And they live in the building, they live in the stadium. And when you get to the NFL, you don't do that. In the NFL, you have a lot of freedom. And you have more money. And you have more opportunity. You have more education. So your character, you can get by in college and not necessarily have the best character, because you have no choice. You want your scholarship, you got to show up and you got to be there. But in the pros, you give a guy that doesn't have the best character, you give him a little bit of money, watch out. Let's see what happens. Because he's not going to have a good career. He's probably going to get cut. He's probably going to be a bust. Okay? I don't want to pick on people because that's not my nature. But my son played in the Big Ten, so I saw Chase Young play in person a couple times from Ohio State. The Commanders picked him. I think he was number 2. I can't remember what he was, number 2, number 3. But he trains 2 miles from my house during the off season. And during the OTAs this year, after coming off an injury last year, instead of being in Washington and Ashburn at the facility during OTAs, he's in Colorado. And I don't represent him. But that doesn't make any sense. And then, because he's been in the league 4 years, and first rounders have a 5th-year option, where he could be guaranteed somewhere around $18 million, they decline the option. Well, what do you expect? He didn't show up. This is your boss. This is your company you work for. So the one thing you find in the NFL is that some guys aren't very smart because they don't make good decisions. And a lot of these things are just common sense decisions. Okay, this is the pro mindset model. And I'm just going to give you a real quick overview. Everybody in here that played sports or did anything in high school, it doesn't matter if it's band, it doesn't matter what you did. Dedication is critical. Number 2. That's where I started in my life. I didn't know about diagnosis. I was focused on dedication. I was going to outwork every day. And what do high school coaches focus on? Get bigger, get faster, get stronger. I don't care what's the word is. Get bigger, faster, and stronger. Work hard. What's your output? Get out of it, put into it. Okay? That's an 18er. We'll talk about 729 years later. Okay, so bottom line is, in this pro mindset model, which I'm going to cover, dedication, you all know what it is. You got to have a process. Part of your process is your preparation. Part of it's how you practice. Producing is visualization. I did breath work this morning. I spent a few minutes thinking about what I was going to do today. Ironically, I'm not necessarily doing what I thought I was going to do, because every time I talk, I do it different. There's no memorization of what I do. Okay, but I did visualize. So I've already been here today before I got here today. I guarantee you guys that play football or any other sport, you play the game before you play the game. You have to play the game before you play the game. I want to jump ahead. 2002, Arrowhead. Buffalo Bills are visiting the Chiefs. 13 seconds to go. Josh Allen, I think threw it to Stephon Diggs. And everybody thought it was over. 13 seconds. Nobody scores in 13 seconds. Patrick Mahomes had been there before. Nobody else had ever been there before, but Patrick Mahomes had been there before, because if he hadn't been there before, they wouldn't have got 2 completions and kicked the field goal to win the game. So what I'm telling you is, if you want to be successful, you have to be there before you go there. You have to see yourself being there before you're there. Every one of you guys have dreams. It's more than being here at K-State. You have dreams for after you leave. But you have to think about it and see yourself doing it before you can do it. Here are the critical pro mindset moments. If you don't get anything out of today, pay attention right now. In your life, you're going to have rock bottom moments. For NFL guys, it's when the GM, the Turk call, taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, bring your iPad. GM wants to see you. You've seen it on Hard Knocks." That is a rock bottom moment. That's not something they dreamed about. That's not something they were thinking about when they got drafted. When they signed their contract, got their signing bonus, they were not thinking about getting cut. But here's the thing about the NFL. And this is true every year, every single team. They start training camp with 90 guys. And they finish training camp with 50. And 37 guys either have to go on IR or get cut, or get put on PUP if they have a certain injury issue. Okay? Some guys get cut and go on to have unbelievable careers. Some guys get cut and they never see the NFL again. So they are so thankful that in preseason game 1, mom, dad, and their girlfriend came to the game so they could get pics after the game, put them on Instagram to show that they were actually in the NFL, because they never played in an actual NFL game. The average career in the NFL is 3.7 games. Think about that for a second. Tom Brady played in like 300, so he screwed up the whole average. Probably about 3 if you take him out of the game. 3 games. I've had several guys start more than 100 games. And you cannot start 100 games in the NFL with different coaches, different GMs, dealing with the physical challenges you have every year to get back to staying healthy without having points. Okay. 99.9. This is where you self-sabotage. My son, who played in Nebraska, was a 99.9. And a 99.9er is not a good thing. It means that you believe in yourself 99.9% of the time. And you know what happens when you believe in yourself 99% of the time? Nobody knows you don't. Until something happens. And then it shows up. And where it shows up in sports is at the free throw line at the end of the game. Guy shoots 91%, and girls shoots 91% for the season. And the game's on the line to go to the big show. They can't make a free throw. Okay? It's in that big moment is when the 99, this is when the 1/10 1% shows up. being 100% believer is critical to being successful in it. Because everybody reflects your belief. Even in your jobs, in the real world. If you don't believe you're good, people don't think you're good. And then you can't understand why you didn't get the biggest raise. Because you didn't think you deserved it, why should they? So you have to start with 100% every time, and then you got to back it up. Now, if they don't believe in you 100%, it may take some time for them to change their opinion of you, but you have to start with it. Next one is unwanted. Do you know how many guys play college football and pro football that the coaches don't even want them to play? In the NFL, it's a lot. I mean, I guarantee you there's at least 10 NFL teams right now that wish they had a different starting group. At least. You don't think Chicago wish they had somebody else? There's a lot of things. Okay. But here's the thing. You can play in the NFL for a decade and not possible. You can play for 10 years. I've had clients that played 10 years. And nobody ever wanted them. They just kept playing. Because they were 100%. And they had a pro mindset. Another one is unalignment. I guarantee you, every one of you guys in this room have been in this situation. It's where you have this dream. And your circumstances today are not in alignment. If you're a football player, you wanted to be all conference. You wanted to be all American. And you're not a good starter. That is unalignment. So you have a choice if you're in that situation. You can buy into the coach's idea that you're not good enough to be a starter, or you can hold on to your dream that you are good enough to be a starter, and you got to ramp up your dedication. You have to ramp up other aspects of your game so that you can show the coaches that you are deserving to be the starter. Okay? I've got a son in Louisville that's in this situation right now. He's QB2. They've got 9 quarterbacks in the quarterback room. 8 of them are on scholarship. 4 of them are 4-stars. 1 of them's a 5-star, and he's a 0-star. And he's QB2. And he's the most frustrated guy on the team, I promise you. Because he is so close to being QB1. He was QB1 last year for part of the season, and he wants to be QB1. Well, in the NFL, it's saying, well, there's a lot of dudes that are QB2s that wish they were QB1s. And there's tight ends, centers, linebackers, same thing. I'll go through this real quick. Maxed out. Every one of us has a story. You guys all have a story. And you're at where you're at right now because of your story. You're not at Yale. You're not at some Juco. You're not somewhere else. Because of your story, you're right here. And what you've done so far has got you to the place you are now. So every one of those guys that are 53s right now, every one of those guys that are starting, they have a story that's consistent with that. But if they want to be all pro, if they want to be a playmaker, they want to be better than they are now, they have to change their story. Because your story only gets you to where you're at. You have to revise your story to get to a different place. Okay? Last 2, big moment. Every one of us has big moments. In sports, could be 3rd and 1, game's on the line. First and goal for the goal line. It's a big moment. You either make the play, you don't. Big moments for you guys could be a job interview coming up pretty soon. Internship opportunity. Could be a multitude of things. Can you be your best in that big moment? Or you can be like that guy who went to the combine that said he ran a 4.4, but he ran 4.6. Okay? And then haters. There's 2 types of haters. Hater number 1 is somebody that has superior position over you. And a lot of high school happens a lot. People bully people. Okay? They don't want you to do well. So they bully you. Happens in football locker rooms too. Okay? The majority of haters are not like that. The majority of haters are your inner circle. They're your friends that just don't want you to get ahead. They start getting uncomfortable because you're going places. And all of a sudden it makes the relationship a little icky. So let's say you got your homeboys or your homegirls, and you got 3 or 4 people that have been hanging your clique that you've been hanging with for a long time. And one person, I mean, I think my daughter just I think met her future husband, but it's like his friends are freaking out right now because he's changing because of that relationship. Happens all the time. Okay? So if you don't have a pro mindset, those things will hold you back. So every one of these things are very common. And when you go through those situations, the only way through it is through it. But if you're not equipped with the right tools, you usually stay where you're at instead of take off from there. Okay, diagnose. There's 3 parts of it. One of them is tackling your thoughts. Has anybody ever thought about the concept of tackling your thoughts? Probably not. Let's just take a football player. Let's take a quarterback. Touches the ball every play. Coach is third and 50. Coach calls a certain. Last year, against the same team, similar situation, that quarterback broke it. Third interception. This year, is he in the moment and playing the play, or is he remembering last year, same situation? I feel okay. You have to tackle your thoughts. You got to let that thought come in and leave. Because if you hold on to that thought, you'll repeat the outcome that you had before. Okay? That's much deeper than that, but that's a cursory understanding what that is. Blocking the noise. I've shared this story before. My office a lot of times is an NFL stadium, and I'm there with a mom and a dad and maybe a girlfriend. And it was in Arrowhead, and I was sitting next to my client's mom and his new girlfriend, who I'd never met before, which is fine. And the game was on the line. It was a playoff game. Peyton Manning was in the house. Chiefs went 13-3. Were favored to win. Indianapolis Colts left town with the win. And the reason why is because my client was distracted. He couldn't block the noise. He decided, he thought it was a good idea, and it was a great idea, actually, at the beginning. He had 3 girlfriends at the game, 3 different sections. Okay? Great idea, right? Until the game was almost over. And he started thinking, oh, what am I going to do after the game? Who am I going to see and how am I going to sort this out? And at the same time he was thinking that, Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison were doing all their mumbo-jumbo sign language. And they did a double move to win the game. So I'm there with my client who's getting hit. The whole place is booing. Okay? So I'm walking down to the tunnel to say hello after the game, wondering, what am I going to say to this young man? Not knowing that he had 3 girls in 3 different places. Just that he had a new girl. And I go, and it's a game. Yeah. I said, who's your new girl? Which one? I'm like, what do you mean, which one? And he tells me the story. I'm like, no wonder you screwed up. He didn't block out the noise. That seems so fundamental. But we all do it. Pros do it all the time. I will bet you Joe Burrow is struggling. Not because of his health. It is because of his game. But part of it is because of the stress of trying to get paid with business. They're very stingy organization. And the fact that he's spending more time now than he ever has in his life talking to his financial advisor a couple times a week. He's still putting in the work. Joe Burrow's awesome. Putting in the work. He's focused on the game plan. But he's got an added responsibility. Now I got this mega contract, and I got to make decisions about my money. He's never had to make decisions like that. So let's just say we're all Bengals fans, we're thinking, man, we need that guy to perform. He needs to show up. I mean, he did not do well the other night, even though they won. We expect him to be like a robot and perform. Well, he's a human being that's dealing with real life issues. And he's worked his whole life, doubted by Ohio State, doubted by a lot of people, goes to LSU, wins the Dane Heisman, first rounder, turns that Bengals organization around. He's got life stuff going on. And as he grows through the years, the money thing won't even be an issue. For Patrick Mahomes, you know what? Patrick Mahomes gets the biggest deal, the most guaranteed. It was just a blur for like a couple hours one day, a couple weeks ago. But when he got his $500 million deal, it was a big deal. Patrick, how to adapt and block out the noise. Patrick Mahomes is more interested in winning football games than he is in owning all these franchises and owning all these sports. Okay? Rewrite your story. As I mentioned before, everybody has a story. And I will bet none of you, and I'm just guessing, none of you have thought about rewriting your story. But I would encourage you to do it. Sometime in the next couple days, take 5 minutes and think about what is my story. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What kind of impact do I want to make? Who are my friends? Who shouldn't be my friends? Who should be my friends? What are my priorities? Am I living in alignment with my priorities? What are my goals? Are they good goals? Should they be bigger than they are? Or have I changed and my goals that I thought I had are no longer relevant? I should have new goals. And rewrite your story. Because if you want to get to the next level, you won't get there with the same story you have. Because the story you have now is the one that got you here. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has done a tremendous amount of work on who he is. Didn't pay off this year. No fault to him. But it didn't pay off. But if there's any that can come back at 39 years old, Achilles, it's probably going to be him. Because of all the things that he does to take care of his mind, to prepare him for the grind of an NFL season that he's done for 20 years. And you guys are too young to remember. But when Aaron Rodgers came into the NFL, he got screwed. Brett Favre couldn't figure out if he wanted to stay in the NFL or not. Didn't know if he wanted to retire or not. Didn't know who he wanted to play for. And this guy, I don't think got on the field until year 4. And he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He already is a Hall of Famer. So the thing I can tell you is that he's learned how to tackle his thoughts. Dreams. Mentioned already, I want to mention it one more time. I've been a dreamer my whole life. I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't dream. Most people that are successful are dreamers. The world tells you you should not be a dreamer. It's not realistic. That's for everybody else. That dream is for somebody else that's bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, better looking, all those kind of things. Somebody that was born on third base. You were born out in the parking lot. That's not the dream's not yours. But I'm here to tell you that dream can be yours. Went through that already? Okay. One of my guys is Ryan Lilja. Love Ryan. He's a dude that played here. He's a dude that NFL teams didn't think could play. He's a guy that hasn't worked a day since his career's been over. Lives at Lake Quivira, Kansas City. Hasn't worked a day. All he does is play golf, be a dad, and manage his money. And Brett Bielema was a D coordinator here at K-State back in the day. He called me and said, hey, if this guy, you need to take a look at him. So I called a few teams. Oh, I can't play. So I told Brett, I don't think he can sign this. It's not good enough. He said, no, he's good enough. So I just kind of things were going. Ryan gives me a call. I have to K-State back here, sitting here, played in the Big 12 championship game. Had, those Bill Snyder years, they were killing it. He calls me and says, hey, man, you interested? I said, I don't know. So we talk. Great dude. So he's like, hey, I'm coming to Colorado. My girlfriend has an internship. I'll come out and see you. Came out, I couldn't say no. The guy played 10 years because he had it up here. And he'll admit this. The last time I saw Ryan was in Indianapolis. Some guys, alumni, were getting honored by the Colts last season. Teddy and I and my family and some people met up with Ryan. And I mean, this guy looks like he worked for FedEx. This looks like an NFL guy. That's the crazy thing about the NFL. Everybody thinks they're supposed to look a certain way. They don't. Some do. Most don't. And he was cut at the end of training camp his rookie year. And by the Chiefs, he signed with the Chiefs. And honestly, he wouldn't have signed in the NFL if it wasn't for Dick Vermeil having a relationship with Bill Snyder. He had a really good training camp. I was in Dallas at a game, and he got put on his back times. And, offensive linemen don't put on the back. They put people on the back. So I was like, oh, that didn't look good. And I know football pretty well, but I knew that didn't look good. So he calls me and says, hey, Vermeil, the final cuts, said, hey, you would have made the team up for these 2 plays. And the 2 plays I saw, which is when he got put on the back. So he ended up getting waived and claimed by the Colts. He started 7 games as a rookie. So here's a guy that got cut, nobody wanted, goes to a different team, gets cut, comes to a team after training camp and starts 7 games. Won a Super Bowl, made a lot of money, and had a wonderful career. But the bottom line is, Ryan is different. He thinks differently. Here's the thing. If somebody says, hey, you're a good looking guy. You're a good looking guy. What if somebody says you're not? You're puny. The art of sport is, can you be your best when people doubt you? Not when everybody says you're great. It's easy when everybody tells you you're great. But at some point in time, you're going to be told, hey, you're not enough. Can you still be great? He was. I went through the 99% negative. That is the 1/10 of 1% is absolutely the most important percent, because it's all about you. Okay? It's a choice that you make. Have a kid. This is my 99.9er. Went to the combine, went to the Senior Bowl, did all those things. Here's the interesting thing. You get really smart when you're in the age of business and your own kid's going through the process. You find out things that I didn't know. Never knew before. I found out challenges that players have that I didn't know they have. Their insecurities, their doubts, their pressures that they have. I swear to God, I've been doing this for a long time, and I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know everything. He makes it. Then this year, I knew he wasn't ready for training camp. I just knew it. His trainer took off. Works with Odell and all these people, took off, and so he worked out in his own back release. So I was just like, hey, bro, you think you're ready? He says, I don't know. I'm thinking to myself, I don't think you are. I didn't tell him he was. I just didn't know he was. He shows up in training camp. I think it was about the 11th practice. He has a muscle strain, misses the first preseason game, shows up for the second preseason game, doing Toradol. Does joint practices with the Bears. Looks really good. We went out to watch practices. Shows up for the first game. Had a great game. But in the second half, NFL flagged him for a concussion. So they took him out of the game. That's the new thing in NFL now. So if they see somebody not quite, they take you out. And he got a bone bruise. And he got 2 other small strains. So we ended up doing an injury settlement so he could come back. And, so here's the thing. He's facing, it's over. It's over. Unless it's not. And I've had 11 teams reach out since we did the injury settlement. And he can't sign up and talk to the 10. But the bottom line is, I have this suspicion that he's going to be better moving forward because of how he's responding to the adversity that he has. I mean, he got money. Money's not the issue. But you know what? Identity is the issue. You take any one of the guys that play football on this campus, you take any one of the guys or girls playing basketball, and take away their sport. Let's see who they are then. Do they have their identity? One of the things I encourage guys to remember is that football is what you do. It's not who you are. And so our son is rocking. Move back home. He's rocking. And when he comes back, like many of my guys, you get caught when you play in the NFL. Most players play for 4 or 5 teams. Well, if they're lucky, you play for 2. Peyton Manning only played for 2. Tom Brady only played for 2. Everybody's thinking Patrick Mahomes will never play for anybody else. Wait 10 years. Patrick Mahomes will probably play for another team. Because Kansas City will be like, man, you can't win us a Super Bowl anymore. He's washed up. And he'll play for somebody else. That's part of the game. Okay, dedication. Everybody in here understands dedication. I'm going to put a different spin on dedication. Okay. First and foremost, you have to know what your purpose is. If you know what your purpose is, then what you do makes sense. If you don't know what your purpose is, you're spinning your wheels. I encourage you to figure out what your purpose is. Your process, that's what coaches talk about. It's preparation, it's practice. If you're not prepared, you should don't expect to be successful. If you're prepared, then you should expect to be successful. Some of you, hey, I'll talk about me. In college, I wasn't always the most prepared. Almost broke up with my girlfriend in college because I didn't study for a test as hard as she did. I got a higher grade than she did. And she was mad at it. And there she is right there. So the bottom line is, it's like I didn't do it exactly what I should have done it all the time. But the thing I can tell you in the NFL is if you're not prepared, then you don't take mental reps. And you don't see yourself being the guy, even though they don't want you to be the guy, or if you're not going to be the guy. When you do get that opportunity, you won't max it out. And so I think one of the things that people underestimate about the NFL is the mental drain of the game. You may not be game playing or playing the game. They may hand you on the practice squad. You're on the practice squad. You want a 16 guy on the practice squad. You don't take any reps the whole week in practice. And on Friday they come to you and go, hey man, so-and-so's got a full hammy. You're going to be up for this week. And you're thinking, okay, I'm tight end 3, I'm center 2, I'm wide receiver 4. I'm not playing. Guess what? First series, Aaron Rodgers thing happens, and you're playing a game. The question is, did you prepare to play in the game? Do you know all the calls? Are you on the same page with your quarterback if you're a receiver or a tight end or RD? Or not? Second part of the process is practice. My second son, who's at Louisville, had this problem. Didn't know he had the problem until he had the problem. He would go to college. He's been to 5 colleges. He's been at Louisville for 3 years. He's done 5. He got the COVID thing too. Was at a school that didn't even have football because of COVID. Didn't practice like it's a game. You have to practice like it's a game. In the NFL, you have to practice like it's a game. You may get 4 reps. That's all you get. And they're thinking about making a roster move, and they look at practice and they go, oh man, that guy really wasn't hustling today. Next thing you know, he's gone. You gotta practice every day like it's a game. My son couldn't understand why when he got in the games, in JUCO, he was killing it, but they weren't starting him because he was better than the starter. Well, the reason was because he didn't practice. He didn't practice like it's a game. Producing a movie is the last part of your dedication. And that's what we talked about before, which is, have you been here before? Who's K-State playing football this week? 5 weeks, so they don't play. Okay, next game. Who are they playing? Okay. All right. So bottom line is the guys that are killing it are going to play that game before the game. They're going to play the game before the game. And the way I suggest it is everything that potentially could happen in a game is there. Surprise onside kick. When you're in the good hands team or whatever on kickoff return, you got to expect an onside kick to come. Not just when the coaches think it can happen any time. Super Bowl. Sean Payton with the New Orleans Saints won the Super Bowl because he changed the momentum of the game by doing an onside kick, first play of the second half, when nobody expected it. Purpose. Talked about that already. Okay, I'm talking about 729ers. Unfortunately, the best stories that I have are negative ones. Okay, they just are because that's where you learn the lessons. I'm in Tempe. I'm in Phoenix. Sitting down with the GM, talking about one of my clients who's starting quarterback, stud. All he can think about is getting paid. All his mom can think about is getting paid, and my job is to get him paid. It's about 4 games that season. And head coach, the GM says, "Hey, my head coach comes in." So I'm in their headquarters. And I said, "Absolutely." And my approach with any team is to find out what the vision for my client is. I want to know what your vision is. Because if you don't have a vision for him in your future, I already know what the answer is. We're probably going to go with a different team. And when I asked that question, the coach said, "Well, we struggle with 729ers. And I said, "Coach, I don't know what a 729ers is." He said, "Well, it's a dude that they had meetings at 7:30 in the morning. All team meeting. That the guy leaves his place so that if he hits every green light, he gets there at 7:29 for a 7:30 meeting. There are red lights, guys. There's red lights. You're going to be late." So he was late. And he broke his trust, breached the trust of his coach just because he wasn't on time. He's from South Florida. He went to B-Tech. He was on play time. Hey, meeting starts when I get there. No, it doesn't. It starts about 5-10 minutes before the coach says it starts. So this gentleman back here formerly from Shaker Heights was the first guy here today. I don't know if he got lost, couldn't find Starbucks or what, but he was the first guy here today. You don't have to be the first guy, but you don't want to be the last guy. Just don't. Right. Has anybody heard about church mode? Some of you, come on. All right. I call it the Patriot way. It's situational coaching. It's where you prepare your players for every potential situation that could happen, even though it might happen one time in 17 games. Andy Reid, we get it? I'm not sure what that meant, but anyway. Okay. Andy Reid prepared the Chiefs last season for church mode in the event that they ever got ahead, and at the end of the game, the clock was the opponent more than the other two. And you wanted the ball carrier to take a knee before he got in the end zone to make the clock run out. So the other team didn't have 13 seconds to do what Kansas City did to and they practiced this 20 different practices last year and never used it. And so when you want to talk about preparation, when you practice that much, I mean, they probably going to spend 5 minutes on it, but 20 different times, 5 minutes, so that the players were prepared for that situation. So when that opportunity came, they did it. This is one of I have a podcast that I do called Pro Mindset. One of my favorite guests, he was a baseball pitcher. He's an old guy now. Now he's a sports psychologist. And so he helps pitchers in the bigs deal with their mental challenges. And he talks about this concept. When he was a rookie for the New York Yankees in spring training in Florida, off Tampa's coast, he would go out on the beach with this little Walkman. Shows you how old he was. Depends on you know what that is. And he would dream about pitching successfully. And he went out in training camp and pitched like 21 scoreless innings to start off his rookie training or spring training. And he shares this. He was able to walk into his dream that he already had when Lou Piniella called him into the locker room, and he walked across the New York Yankees logo and was told, "You made the roster as a rookie." So we all got those dreams. I encourage you to start thinking about those dreams happening, not just out here. Everybody's got these kind of dreams. I'm talking about the ones that are in here. Bring that dream that's out here that people have told you that you can't do and that the odds are so small. Bring it into your heart. And then let's see what happens. I already talked about the Chiefs. Nick Bolton did that. They won the Super Bowl. He was out partying all night, no sleep. Good Morning America and Michael Strahan had him on at 5 a.m. Phoenix time. And they asked him about his defensive touchdown. And he said that once he got in the end zone, some of you guys might have heard this, he couldn't tell if it was real or not because he had dreamed about it a couple days ago. So what I'm here to tell you, if you can't dream it, you can't do it. Let me rephrase that. If you don't dream it, you probably won't do it. If you do dream it, no guarantees, but your odds are a lot better. Domination. Yeah, I'm going to be quick because I'm thinking I'm running out of time.
Yeah, I'll give him 20 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to bring this all together here. So truly dominate, you got to show up. And guess what you show up with? You show up with your news story. You show up with your thoughts organized. You've blocked out noise and distractions. All the preparation that you did, bring with you. All the practice and the game speed, game intensity, you bring with you. You don't have to flip the switch. Coaches talk all the time, man. This is that guy flip the switch. You don't have to flip the switch if you practice like that. Okay? And then you be in the moment. So this is the biggest enemy of success. The biggest enemy of success is when you are attached to the potential outcomes. How much money you're going to get, what kind of promotion you're going to get. You know, if you're a football player, what kind of recognition you're going to get. How am I going to get drafted? Am I going to get invited to the combine? Am I going to get invited to an all-star game? Am I going to be all-conference? And you're literally going out to catch a pass or make a block or make the tackle, and you have this nanosecond thought like, oh shit, I got to make this play because I want to be All-American. Your brain is amazing. You can think that in a split second. If you're a receiver and you're going to catch the ball, just don't even hear it. You thought that. I got to make this play. Following the All-American. And guess what happens on those plays? The ball goes through your hands. Because you're not just thinking about your job. You're not thinking about the moment. You're thinking about what's going to happen in the future. So there's two enemies here. One is your future, and the other one is your past. So I already talked about the quarterback that was thinking about what happened the last time. Can't think that. This is a new day, a new game. And you can't think about the future. Can't look at the scoreboard. When I used to coach youth sports, the funniest thing was I love scoreboards because I played win. I coached to win. Probably won 95% of my games because I was a really good GM. It's not about the coaching, it's about the talent. And it was about getting everybody on the same page. But the thing that I would do is keep the boys from watching the scoreboard, especially at basketball. Look at the scoreboard, you're way ahead. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm just going to shoot my threes because, hey, it's time to pad my stats. Next thing you know, we're way up. Now we're even. And then when you're way behind, they get the same mindset. Hey, I'm just going to pad my stats. I'm going to play selfish. It doesn't matter. We're not going to win. I want my players, I want my clients too, to be their best every play because that's all they can be. Not be anything less. Just be your best. And not worry about the future or the past. One part about showing up. You ever seen these guys at the airport? I mean, sometimes they got a wife and a couple kids. They got, 6, 8, 10 bags. Hey, they can't be like OJ, run through airports. So when you show up for whatever your challenge is, you need to show up light. You need to travel with a backpack. You don't bring the media coverage. As an NFL guy, you got a lot of haters. Oh, me. You don't bring that with you. You don't bring anything with you except what your job is and what your goal is. Because when you start bringing all that stuff, like this is what happens like when in the old days, they used to have incentives in contracts. Then the salary cap's kind of eliminated that in the last 10 years. But I would have clients be like, hey man, this game, last game of the year, if I can get 3 catches, I can do this much play, I'm going to get a big bonus. That's what would happen. Teams would pull it out. I got the Chiefs, they don't know. You think I can do anything about that? He's on the sidelines when he was a starter. They took him out. They're okay. That's what teams used to do. Can't do it anymore because they don't have those in the contract. The bottom line is you've got to show up light. This is one of my guys. I call him Hollywood because when he showed up with the Giants, his best friends on the team were the stars. Eli Manning, Tiki Barber, players like that. Mike Strahan. He was a 5th rounder at the University of Illinois. Couldn't tell him that. He came in, it was a day 1 game 1 start. He started like 150 games in the NFL. Won 2 Super Bowls, both against Tom Brady. He's a coach now at Memphis, Illinois coach at Memphis. Was working for Fox. Got more money than you count. More success than anybody could dream of. But here's the thing. He showed up from day 1, being who he wanted to be. Not the mindset of the typical rookie, which is, I'm a rook. I got to act like a rook. I got to think like a rook. I got to prove myself. I got to learn the ropes. It's going to take me some time. Those guys don't make it. You got to find a way to go in, show up day 1 like a pro without ruffling any feathers. And you have to be 100% believer in yourself because if you're not, coach. The other part of this is drop it in. I'm gonna throw a concept to you guys. I do breath work almost every day. When did I start doing it? Probably in high school. Probably in middle school when I was playing basketball. My son that plays quarterback takes a deep breath before every snap. Nobody knows it. It just relaxes you. Okay? And what I'm going to encourage everybody here to do is if you're in a competitive setting, before you go, I want you to create a performance container. And in that performance container, you bring everything that's for you with you. And everything that's not, you don't let it in. So if you're a golfer, it doesn't matter what sport it is. You only bring with you for that moment what is for you. And everything that, all the negative thoughts you have, all the negative comments the coach made that last week, everything the media said, I don't care who it is, it says what? That doesn't get to come in. And let's see how great you can be if you perform in that. Okay. Last one. This is my pro mindset man, Nikovich. just saw him a couple weeks ago. Sean Payton called him out to Denver. Didn't help him. He was the big up 7 points to the Dolphins on Sunday. But came out to be a consultant for the Broncos a couple weeks ago. Guy was cut 5 times. Out of high school, no offers. Lived at home. Went to a local JUCO. Went to Purdue. Drafted the 5th round. Made it. Thought things were good. Fourth NFL game for his ACL. Now he's on that rehab program. This is one of those stories where he was a fat kid in 7th grade, unathletic looking, but he had a dream and he had belief on steroids and he had the work ethic. All those things I talked about, Rob's got them all. He's still got it. And when he shows up, I'm in Indianapolis. The Saints are playing the Colts on that Thursday night game, that game number 1 of the NFL season, because the Colts had just won the Super Bowl the previous year in 07. Ninkovich, I'm at the team hotel, and I get a call from the GM saying, hey, cut. I'm like, they're cutting him on a game day? I mean, you guys flew from New Orleans to Indy, and cutting him like 3 hours before the game? I mean, they show up stadium like in 15 minutes. He's like, yeah. I said, why? I mean, I'm thinking something. He's like, I don't know. I said, yeah. So he called me back in 10 minutes and said he talked to Coach Payton and said he wanted to activate a fourth quarter, which none of this. So he got screwed. So he's from Chicago, 3 hours from me. His mom and dad, sister, and 30 other people are driving down to the game to watch him play, to celebrate him because he overcame his ACL, made the team, and was playing close to him. And so, after an AFC championship game a few years ago in New England, I was over at his house talking to his sister, and she was sharing a story that Rob called her to tell him that it was cut, wasn't going to be in the game. It was going to be when they were going to be at Lucas Oil, he was going to be in an airplane back to New Orleans. And she used her better judgment not to tell her dad, his dad, because she didn't want him to run off I-60. So when they stopped at a gas station, she told him he ripped his Saints shirt. And then he didn't have the shirts. So he had to buy a shirt at the gas station so that he could go to the game. Well, that meant most people, that was his second cut. He got cut 3 more times in less than a year and a half by 2 teams. And then he shows up in New England. Belichick calls me like 6 days in the training camp. Hey, it's Rob Ninkovich. Hi. Yeah. You ready? Yep. Can you be on a flight tonight? I said, I hope so. Let me find out. So I called him. He was playing golf with his friends. You know, totally tanked. But he was thinking his career might be over. Got on an airplane that night. Red eye. To Foxborough, to Boston. Shows up. Does a physical. Does a workout. They sign him. And at his first practice, he's going against their starting Pro Bowl left tackle, Matt Lynott, and he beats 3 reps in a row. No sleep, except a little bit, a couple hours sleep on that red eye. And his career changed. 5-time team captain, mega money, 2 or 3 Super Bowls. He's done. He's done. But how many of us that got cut 5 times? I'd be told, and I'm not even sharing with you half of them. Coach is saying, hey, man, you don't look like an NFL player. You don't have a skill set like an NFL player. And he said, basically, I'm going to show up. I'm going to show out. I'm going to bring my identity and my story to my game, and I'm not going to listen to anybody else. And that's what he did. So I'm going to just sum it up with this again. If you want to get momentum, you have to understand that if you're at rock bottom, the only gravity that's keeping you at rock bottom is your own. There is no gravity at rock bottom. If you have a bad day, bad play, bad practice, bad, get cut, get fired, it doesn't matter what it is. You're your own worst enemy. Nobody's holding you down. The ping party you're having in your mind is the only thing that's holding you down. 99% of it. The momentum there is to make the leap of faith that you've got that 1/10 of 1% to 100% believe in yourself, knowing that not everybody else will, but they sure as heck won't if you don't. And then one, it's easy to perform when your coaches are for you. It's easy to perform when they're talking, they're giving you all the reps. There's a lot of guys that are going to play this Sunday in the NFL. I would bet there are at least 15, 20 guys that don't get a rep this week. Not one. They don't get a chance to show what they don't get to play. They don't get to practice. They're in a second like this. Taking no rep, and they're going to be expected to perform on Sunday. And some of them will, and some of them won't. And the guys that do it will continue to ascend in their careers. The guys that don't, it's the beginning of the end. Unalignment. You're always going to, if you're really striving for success, you're always going to be in unalignment to your dream. Because no matter where you're at, your dream's somewhere else. I've got a few friends that are like, how's it going, man? Oh, I'm living my dream. You know what that tells me? They're stagnant. They're not growing. It's okay to have your dream and your circumstances not be in alignment. And now you've got a choice. Accept your circumstances and give up your dream, or hold on to your dream and see what happens. Max out. Change your story. Change your destiny. If you improve your story, you're going to improve your circumstances. If you plateau, you don't change your story, you can't change your circumstances. Big moments. All of us have big moments. Football players have big moments almost every Saturday or Sunday. If they visualize themselves and prepare and all those dedication things, they can be prepared for that big moment. When guys go to the combine, it is absolute nuts to talk to guys during the combine. Think about this concept. You've been dreaming since you're a little boy playing in the NFL. You finally get the opportunity to go to the combine. There's only 300 some guys go, 330 or so. You're one of them. And you're in Indianapolis at the team hotel right across the street from Lucas Oil, and you're at the combine. And day 4 is the morning of day 4 is typically when you're going to run, jump, all those things. And by day 3, you want to go home. You want to go home. You're so sick of the process. You can't believe these stupid questions these teams are asking you. They purposely deprive you of sleep. They purposely try to wear you. It's like boot camp. It's designed to do exactly what it's doing, which is mentally fatigue you. A lot of these guys get to day 4. It's like, nothing. I just want to do it. They lose their game. That's why they run the 4.6 when they come to 4. Because the difference between 4.4 and 4.6 isn't much. If anybody would get their cell phone out, put it on the table, go to the clock, and hit start, stop. The average time is 0.12 the first time. Practice it a handful of times at your age with your reaction time. The best of the best are going to get down to 0.06. But a lot of you will get below 0.09. It's proven. Well, 0.12, when you go like this, nobody's trying to do it slow. That's the difference between 4.4 and 4.52. 4.6 and 4.7. Last thing. When you have haters, that is a sign that you're doing the right things. When you have haters, it's not a bad thing. That tells me you're growing. You're going somewhere. So reframe how you look at haters. I got some high school friends like, man, why don't you just, hey man, you can drink, you can smoke, you can do whatever. Nobody's gonna know it. One time. Hey man. Man, got poker night. You're only gonna step to 3, but hey, you'll be okay practice the next day. Man. All those guys that tempt you to get off the game. Thank you.
So when it comes to the full pro mindset thing, I know you talk a lot about football players that you've dealt with and everything, but in your own personal life, was there anything like throughout your life that happened that really made you buy into that mindset yourself?
Yeah, great question. I debated today whether to put my story into this or not. But I grew up on a farm in Kansas, and I was the youngest of 4 boys in operation. Shit runs downhill, and I got all the crappy jobs, and I learned how to dream because I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to do something else, and I learned the concept that it's not where you're from, it's where you're going, and it really is not where you're from. Everybody, the world tells you it's where you're from. If you're born on third base, you're special. A lot of people born on third base can't find home. And there's a lot of people that are born in the parking lot that find their way to the batter's box all the way around. And so in my life, my kids were born on third base. My sons have been privy to this stuff since they were this big. It'll be really interesting to see how I've seen it. They're navigating the adversity pretty well. When you got a 0-star that's QB2 at a Power 5 school with a bunch of, with a room full of 4 and 5 stars, that tells you that he's doing something right. So my story is totally involved in pro mindset because I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't be dealing with the people I'm dealing with if I didn't have it.
So you obviously mentioned that throughout all the contracts and players you've represented, it's been almost $1 billion worth of contracts. How do you get players to trust and want you to represent them? How do you kind of get someone to financially invest in you so much? That makes sense.
Well, here's the nature of the business. We invest in them, they don't invest in us. But what I do is I don't do what everybody else does. Most agents they're spending more time recruiting than they are taking care of the guys. My approach is it's all referrals. If I don't know somebody that knows somebody, I'm never going to represent them because it just doesn't make sense. I don't want to invest my time calling up somebody your age and go, hey, oh boy, how you doing, man? Hey, that's not my game. My game is to help young men develop I'll use my son as an example. My guy with the Colts, I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to tell him he needed to become a man. I said, you're 9 toes in. Well, we have 10 toes. 9 toes, you're being a man. But 1, a lot of men don't grow up until they're 40. That's the truth. Okay? You ladies, I feel sorry for you because that's the way it is. But it's like, I want my clients to be 10 toes in. So what I do is I educate guys on the process. I empower them so that they can know that, hey, I want them to be in control of their own careers. There's something hopeless about, let's say, for example, if you're playing and you're a co-pilot and you're sitting in the co-pilot chair, but somebody else has got the wheel, and they can do whatever they want. I want my clients to be, I want them to be in the cockpit in the driver's seat, controlling their own career. Because maybe their dreams are bigger than my dreams for them. I don't want to limit them. And so, I don't know if that answers that question, but to me, it's more a philosophical thing where I want players to understand they have to be to max it out. And I want them to be in control. And I'm giving them I'm telling them what's going on, where the turbulence is coming, where the obstacles are. They're in control.
All right, you guys. So I want to come up and say hi to Craig Dillon. If you want to go back and talk, hey, ask him what it's like to live with Michael Jordan and Shaq and Larry Bird and all the things with Tom. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you guys taking the place.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pro Mindset Podcast. If you liked our podcast, please subscribe and review our show and tell your friends. We can be found on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Pro Mindset Podcast, or on our website at promindsetpodcast.com.